Hello, everyone, and welcome to Burn the Ship, the podcast that helps entrepreneurs go all in on their business, and we introduce them to those business owners that can help them to do so. Today, we have a very special guest, Mr. Richard Shapiro with the Center for Client Retention. How you doing today, Richard?
I'm doing great, Roderick. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. We definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing with us today. And we understand that time is one of our most valuable resources. So, Richard, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I first of all, I appreciate the opportunity for your audience to listen to me and for me to share some of my insights. I would consider myself, and a lot of people would also consider me, a customer experience expert, customer service expert, repeat business expert. But, how did I really become an expert? It just didn't happen today. I was very fortunate that when I was growing up, when I was about 8 or 9 years old, my dad owned a small men's retail clothing store. And every Saturday, my friends would be playing softball, soccer, or football, but where was I? Well, every Saturday, I was forced to, in a way, to go to work with my dad. So I went to work with him early in the morning as he, unlocked the door. And my job was actually being the cashier. So what was good about that is the cash register or the POS system today was centered in the middle of the store. So I could view my father interacting with every customer. And I learned so many things from my dad. But three important things that I like to share is number one, my father taught me that customers are people first, customers second. Let me repeat that. That all
Mm-hmm.
customers are people first, customers second. The second thing I learned from my dad was to really treat the store as someone's home. And to a customer, whether they're going on your website or they go to your office or they go to a physical store, if you treat people like it's your home and welcome them just like you'd welcome somebody into your home, you might give them a tour, offer them, a drink, water, find out about their family, find out about their story. That would make the interaction very successful. And lastly, he taught me the importance of creating an emotional bond with each customer from day one. And I think a lot of people who know me now would say that that's one of my skills. I always try to,
Yes.
create this emotional bond with everybody from the first day that I meet them.
That sounds like a great foundation you were able to start off with. A lot of business owners really just get thrown into the fray, but it was great that you had an example to show you how to get started. So that's an awesome foundation, and I appreciate you sharing that story with us. Now, as you were growing up, did you go to school? Did you jump right into corporate? How did that look for you, Richard?
That's another excellent question. When I was growing up, I actually thought I would be going into retailing, uh, but actually a little selfish, being selfish. Retail was one of the few industries where you had to work on the weekends, and it was just something that stuck in me because every time my friends were, going out, it doesn't necessarily having a party or just spending time with them. It was very difficult to do that in retail, and especially during the holidays, whether it was Christmas shopping or things like that, when everybody was off, you had to work really hard. So I always worked hard, but I think that turned me off a little bit from retailing. So I went to college. I went to the University of Bridgeport in Connecticut, and my major was accounting. And halfway through the year, or not through the year, but probably through the 4 years that I attended Bridgeport, I did decide to go into marketing. And I got a great education at Bridgeport. And when I came home, I decided that it was important for me to go for my MBA. So I started going for my MBA at Fairleigh Dickinson University in New Jersey. We lived in New Jersey. And while I was going for my MBA, I actually, frankly, I didn't have that much confidence that I had learned so much uh, going to school. And I think a lot of kids come out of school and they're not really sure what they're going to do, and they don't have a lot of confidence. So I took a job at Dun and Bradstreet. It was a part-time job, and the job was actually filing cards in alphabetical order. So
Okay.
I decided that after a week that I knew how to do that and I could go on to something else. So I
Hmm.
was actually hired by Shell Oil Company as part of their management trainee program. And it was a great job because it was in a oil plant. So I had never really kind of been in that environment. And it was great because I was interacting with truck drivers and dealers. It was a warehouse environment different than what I had, the environment that I had been in. But
Hmm.
I always did relate to people. So it didn't matter, once again, customers are people first, truck drivers are people first. So I was
Yes.
always able to get along with everybody. And after about 9 months of being at Shell, um, and I was very I was impressed, with them, but they were kind of regulated because it was a really big company. And,
Hmm.
they told me that I was the best, management trainee they ever had. However, they could only give me the same percentage that everybody else got. So I decided, and things were a lot different then. I never had taken off a day of work. I had never really been sick. Not that you have total control of that. And I went into uh, an employment agency, Snelling and Snelling at the time, and said, and I was like 21 years old. I said, I've never taken a day off, but I'm willing to take one day off to find a job. That's what you could do in those days. So they said, fine. And they set me up with two interviews, one with ADP, which was in the morning, and then in Tenneco Chemical in the afternoon. And both companies offered me a job. And I went back to Snelling and Snelling and said, which company should I, work for? And they said, well, you know what? ADP is kind of a growing company. Well, ADP basically was a startup. Today it's the largest payroll processing company in the world. But when I started, the revenues were only $40 million. They just moved out of a supermarket location, and when I left, the revenues were $4 billion. And while I started as an account executive, I was part of that growth team. I mean, if you want to say, I started as an account executive, was in client services management, general manager of their largest region, and in my last job, I was vice president of client retention and customer satisfaction. So ADP was a great starting point for anybody, but I learned so much, and that's how I really knew about how to build relationships, using my father's concepts, and how to, build business, increase business from existing customers, and keep the customers that you have.
Yes, makes a lot of sense. Now, you said you were in retention management towards the end of your career at ADP. Is that what made you go ahead and create the center? What happened with that transition? What, I guess in essence, what made you burn your ship and go all in on yourself and get out of that corporate role?
Sure. Another great question. At ADP, we did have a survey process at that time. I was talking about many years ago. Uh, was a paper survey, and the paper survey probably had about 10 questions on it, and it was a great measurement tool. And we had about 40 regions when I left ADP. So it was a great measurement tool as far as seeing, which regions excelled, let's say in customer service or logistics or delivery or accuracy, et cetera. But it wasn't a good improvement tool. There was not enough information, enough feedback from the customers or clients to actually know how to change how to move the needle. And I decided if ADP was so successful and they didn't have a really good survey process in place, that I should start a company. So I started the company called the Center for Client Retention, and we've been in business 35 years. And the first probably 20 or 22 years, we did in-depth telephone interviews with all our clients' customers. And those in-depth interviews, which you can't do today probably, were a half hour to 45 minutes in length. And it didn't matter whether it was a consumer who bought a Mars candy bar or whether it was a big company where their customers were Walmart or physicians or patients, it didn't matter. All our surveys were done through these in-depth interviews, and that those interviews gave our clients great customer insights, and it actually told them how they can not only improve the service for specific customers, but also generally overall for all their customers. So, you know, I think I saw in one of your write-ups about whys or something. It's so important when you do a survey to find out why somebody is rating you a certain way. I know a lot of companies use the Net Promoter Score, which is basically how likely are you to recommend the company. And it's so important, no matter what the score is or what they say, to find out why they're giving that rating. Sometimes that can give you all the information that you need.
Makes a lot of sense. That gives us a pretty good framework of what you do in the surveys. My question, off of what you just shared, once you retain that information, do you just give it to your client at that time, or do you help them to manage that data? What do you do once you've collected the survey information?
Sure. Yeah, that's a really important question because we are not a survey company. We're a consulting company.
Okay.
So if you were to put in, let's say, customer satisfaction and Google it, you'd find a lot of technology companies like Qualtrics or Medallia or SurveyMonkey or Survey Gizmo. Those are all technology companies, technology platforms. What we do, the reason why our clients want to use the Center for Client Retention is we help them determine what their business objectives are or find out what their business objectives are and design the survey questions so that when they get back the results, it's not it's not just going to say, well, the people that you have are nice or good or professional. You really can't do that much with that information. It's important to incorporate questions that are actually going to give you enough information so you can increase profits and increase, revenues. So, and then, we have great technology tools that we provide our clients so that all of our client programs are ongoing. Matter of fact, a lot of our clients have been with us for 10 years or 15 years. And at any point in time, they were able to see what the real-time results are for whatever the survey process is at that time. And then every client that we have, we meet with them quarterly to go over the results and go over what it means, and also tell them if we would recommend any future changes to the survey questions or possibly recommend training programs for their people or whatever the issues are.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now that we know the nuts and bolts of your business, I like to dive deeper to find out who is an ideal client to get you in front of to use your services. Who are you trying to reach?
We are trying to reach, first of all, companies who really believe in delivering good service. Uh, no company and none of our clients, when we deliver back the results, they're pretty good results because our clients who use us, they want to raise the bar. So sometimes somebody will tell me, and I'm not going to mention some of the names, but some airline, they'll say, this airline has the worst possible service. They should use your services. Well, that company or that airline is never going to use our services because they don't really care about feedback. That's why their service is so poor. So an ideal candidate for us is any company who really wants to deliver good customer service. But the caveat is they have to have probably a customer base of about 4,000 accounts. It could be consumers or it could be businesses. And the reason why you need such a volume is that surveys, unfortunately, have been misused by a lot of companies, and therefore a lot of people are reticent in actually taking the time to complete it because a lot of companies, even if they complete it, never get back to them. That does not happen with our clients. So therefore, the response rate's usually between, let's say, 12 and 15% when you send out a survey. But if you have a base of 4,000 accounts or 5,000 accounts, you're going to be able to get back at least 5 or 6 or 700 surveys, completed surveys, and those surveys are going to provide so so many valuable consumer insights or customer insights that once again are going to be able to help you grow your business, both profits and revenues.
So clients or businesses that actually care about their clients and their customers, and ones that have at minimum 4,000, I'm going to say users, or 4,000 clients is a great referral for you. Actually,
Right.
that's a good target.
And they could be nonprofits. It could
Hmm.
be donors. It could be professional services, accounting firms, it could be a manufacturer, it could be a consumer product company, it can be a university, it could be almost any kind of entity. Uh, and as long as they have enough of a client base to make the results worthwhile and meaningful.
Perfect. Thank you so much for creating that framework of what the ideal client looks like for you. Now, we met through networking, and as we network, we talk to a lot of business owners or what we consider referral partners. When it comes to us with the credit card processing, you got your bookkeepers, your CPAs are good referral partners for us. Those website developers, software developers are great referral partners for us. What does that ideal referral partner look like for you, Richard?
I would say this first of all, we work with a lot of contact centers like customer service departments, medical information departments, consumer affairs departments. So in all cases, especially large companies, they usually outsource that function to a BPO, an outsourced provider who would actually handle those calls. So if there is somebody who knows, one of these outsourcers that actually provides these, people that answer the contacts, that might be a good referral source, and sometimes we get that. Um, and I think, a lot of cases, people that would be familiar with their finances, or maybe the chief financial officer, or, chief marketing officer, or chief, or the vice president of sales. I would say generally the people that or would be have the final decision in hiring us would be under the sales department, because no company, I mean, customers are precious. It's the most important asset that any company has. And they want to make sure that whatever company they hire, and most of our, by the way, survey work now is done through, a web-based survey sent out through the internet, but it's a, reputable company, uh, that's going to make sure that if a consumer or a customer unsubscribes from the survey, they don't get the survey again and things like that. So it would be any business that is familiar, any referral partner who would be, familiar with people, let's say in the in the sales area or marketing area, or could be the business owner as well.
I got you. I definitely appreciate you sharing about your business because we want others to know what it is that you're doing and how you're out in the world helping these businesses. Now, since the time you started with your dad at the store, then you went and worked with ADP, and now you're doing your own thing. You have acquired and nurtured some skills. Do you mind sharing with us one or two of those skills with the audience that is watching today that has helped you in your business?
Sure. Well, basically, I teach relationships, and I would say that you can't have a good relationship unless you have a good follow-up. So it's really important to, uh, and I can relate this, or relate exactly. I've also written two books. One is called The Welcomer Edge: Unlocking the Secrets to Repeat Business, and the second one is The Endangered Customer: 8 Steps to Guarantee Repeat Business. And one of the steps, actually, it's the sixth step, is invite me to return. And, if you meet somebody for the first time, let's say at a networking event, and you have a good interaction with them, and you really want to see them again, or possibly do business, or find out more about what they do, it's really great to say, you know what, I had a great conversation. Why don't we meet again next Tuesday? Or why don't we meet in a month? Not just say, I'll see you at the next networking event. You have to have those one-on-ones. You can't build a relationship really at a networking event. You have to take it offline. And even as you say, we belong to the same networking group. Just meeting, doesn't, every week or every 2 weeks doesn't do it. You really have to have those offline one-on-ones. That's the best way to build a relationship. And it is tied into the follow-up, because if you say you're going to do something, to do it, and people appreciate that.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I share that with my team all the time. I say, as you make the step to build a relationship with someone by doing, a networking event, if you don't follow up, it's almost like you wasted that time for going. You took the energy by driving or getting on that Zoom to get there, said hey to the person, and then just never speak with them again. That doesn't make sense. So this skill that you're sharing, as far as with follow up, falls right in line with that. So that's magnificent. We definitely appreciate you sharing that. Now, you've been in business for a while. You've been in business longer than most because you started early with your dad. Let's just say now that you have gotten all of the customer surveys back and you have helped people out, and we're going to talk outside of business a little bit. We know that we're here for business, but we also have to have a good work-life balance. What is it that Richard would do if he didn't have to worry about the center for a little while? What would Richard do?
Well, it's kind of like what I do now because I do try not to spend all my time on the business. What I do spend a lot of time on is I actually do mentor about 25 students from four different universities: Baruch College in New York, Florida International University in Florida, Nova Southeastern University in Florida, and also I was teaching as an adjunct professor at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. So I just love to do that. And I spend a lot of time with that. And actually, we live in Florida primarily, but we do spend the summers in Massachusetts, where I am now. And
Mm-hmm.
on the way to Massachusetts, I actually met with five of my students from Baruch, and four of the five I had never met in person. I'd only met through Zoom. So it
Mm-hmm.
was great. And actually, those students themselves didn't know each other. So that was another way of, cementing, my team there with the group. So I would just say I love helping all people, but I especially love, helping, young people. And that's where I spend a lot of my time,
Yeah,
helping them, and just to say a lot of the times it's personal issues that they have. It's not just even business. So,
mm-hmm.
a lot of them, have financial issues, or, maybe, both their parents aren't supportive of them, whatever it is. I try to help as much as I can.
Yeah, that's awesome that even inside of all the business things that you do, when I ask what would you do after, it was help people. So that's magnificent, Richard. We do appreciate that. Now, as you talk about that help, how can people get in contact with you if they have questions about retention or just need to reach out to you for some assistance?
Sure. Well, I'm always willing to help people, and I would say that LinkedIn, if you go under Richard R. Shapiro, it's probably going to pop up. That's probably the easiest way. And then, of course, that does have our website address on it. It also has my email address, which is rshapiro@tcfcr.com. But all that is on the LinkedIn site. So I'm pretty sure if you just put Richard R. Shapiro, and you put in customer satisfaction or customer loyalty LinkedIn, it's going to pop up, and I'd love to communicate or connect with anybody who's listening today.
Well, we definitely appreciate you sharing. We appreciate you peeling back a couple layers of that onion so we can really get to know you, Richard. And I want to show my appreciation by giving you a few minutes just to give the audience the last word. So, what good things can you share with the audience, Richard?
I think there's one thing that I always tell every company, and people have actually told me that this has helped their company uh, tremendously, and sometimes has even increased business. And that's when anybody contacts your company, if you can instruct your staff to always say, "I can help you with that, but do you mind if I ask you a few questions?" That can dramatically increase, the service level of your business. Because too many times people contact a company and right away they ask, well, who's calling and what's your name and what's your zip code? And no, whatever it is, people like to feel that that person they're talking to can actually help them. Now, that person might have to refer them to somebody else, but that's still helping them. So if anybody has a switchboard or a secretary or administrative person or yourself, whatever the issue is, always say, I can help you with that. But do you mind if I ask you a few questions? It can be a game changer for any business.
Thank you so much for sharing those nuggets, and thank you so much for coming on today. We truly do appreciate it, and I know the entrepreneurs that are going to check out the show are going to be more than happy to take on some of these skills that you shared. So thank you so much for your time today, Richard, and we truly do appreciate it.
Yeah, Roderick, thanks a
All
million.
right,
I
to
appreciate
everyone
it.
watching today, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.